In the space between waking and sleeping, where thoughts begin to soften like candle wax in warm air, there exists a threshold, a doorway made not of wood or stone, but of breath itself. Tonight, as the world settles into its ancient rhythm of rest, we gather here in this sacred pause you, wherever you are, and the timeless wisdom that has been whispered from teacher to student for over 2,000 years. The evening air carries with it the scent of jasmine and the distant sound of temple bells, their bronze voices calling across valleys of time. Somewhere, a monk walks slowly along a mountain path, his footsteps creating no sound on the moss-covered stones. Each step is a prayer, each breath a teaching, each moment a doorway into something deeper than the busy mind can grasp. Before we begin this gentle journey together, if these calming wisdom stories bring peace to your evening hours, feel free to subscribe, give this video a like, and gently share in the comments where in the world you're listening from tonight. Are you beneath city lights or country stars? By an ocean's edge or nestled in mountains? Each of you brings your own landscape to this shared moment of Q-U-I-E-T-U-D-E. Picture, if you will, cherry blossoms drifting down like snow in slow motion, each petal carrying the weight of a single breath, a single moment of awareness. They fall not because they are dying, but because their time of clinging has passed. In their letting go, they become part of something larger, the earth, the air, the endless cycle of becoming and returning. Tonight, we too shall practice this art of gentle release. As incense curls upward in spirals of blue-gray smoke, carrying our thoughts toward the infinite, we begin to understand that wisdom is not something we acquire, but something we remember. It lives already within the space between heartbeats, in the pause between thoughts, in the stillness that exists before the first word is spoken. The Buddha once said that all of existence is like a dream, and in dreams we find our truest teachings. So let us dream together now, not of what we must do tomorrow, but of what we already are in this very moment, perfect, whole, and infinitely peaceful. Asterisk. What is the sound of peace before thought arises? This question drifts through the evening, air like mist rising from a still pond, neither demanding an answer nor expecting one, but simply existing in the space where wonder meets silence. If we could hold this question lightly, the way we might hold a butterfly that has landed momentarily on our open palm, what might we discover? In a monastery garden, somewhere beyond the reach of clocks and calendars, an old tree stands with roots so deep they touch the underground streams. Its branches have weathered countless seasons, spring's tender green, summer's full embrace, autumn's golden surrender, winter's stark honesty. The tree does not question its nature. It simply is. In its being, it teaches us something about existence that no book could ever capture. What if peace is not something we must find, but something we must stop hiding from ourselves? The moon tonight is like a meditation cushion in the sky, round and patient, offering its gentle light without preference for who receives it. It illuminates the worried and the calm with equal tenderness. It asks nothing in return for its presence, expects no gratitude for its consistency. Night after night, it returns, teaching us about reliability not through words, but through simple, unwavering presence. Beneath this moon, a night-blooming jasmine opens its petals to release fragrance that will fade by morning. It does not save its sweetness for a more convenient time, nor does it worry about tomorrow's wilting. In this moment, it gives everything it has to give. What would it mean to live with such wholehearted presence? If we let go of everything we think we need to be happy, what remains? This question is like a river flowing through a dark forest, carrying with it the reflection of stars. We cannot grasp the stars themselves, but their light moves with the water, dancing and shifting, reminding us that some truths can only be experienced, never possessed. The river knows its destination, without consulting maps. It follows the natural law of flowing toward the sea, encountering rocks and roots not as obstacles, but as opportunities to sing new songs. In the distance, we hear the soft rustle of bamboo, leaves speaking their ancient language, a conversation that requires no translation because it speaks directly to something older than words within us. Each leaf that moves in the night breeze carries a message. Flexibility in the face of life's winds, rootedness without rigidity, the ability to bend without breaking. The cricket's song rises from the grass, a meditation bell that needs no monastery, no special training, no years of study. It simply offers its voice to the night, asking nothing, expecting nothing, complete in its small offering. What if our lives could be this simple? What if happiness were found not in getting what we want, but in wanting nothing more than what this moment offers? As the night deepens and the stars wheel slowly overhead in their eternal dance, we begin to sense that these questions are not puzzles to be solved, but doors to be entered. Each one opens onto a landscape of possibilities that exists not in some distant future, but here, now, in the space between one breath and the next. Asterisk, asterisk, in the soft glow of dawn 2,500 years ago, beneath a tree whose leaves whispered secrets older than civilization itself, a man sat in stillness and touched something eternal. The Buddha's awakening was not a dramatic event with thunder and lightning, but rather like the gentle opening of a lotus flower, so natural, so inevitable, that it seemed the universe itself had been holding its breath in anticipation of this quiet moment. The first teaching he shared was simple, like water finding its level. Life contains suffering, but suffering is not life's essence. Imagine, if you will, a glass of clear water. When we add mud to it, the water becomes cloudy, but the water's nature hasn't changed, only what we've mixed into it. Our suffering is like this mud, stirred up by our desires, our fears, our endless wanting of things to be different than they. Tonight, as you rest in the comfort of your bed, feel how your body naturally releases the day's tensions. You don't have to command your muscles to relax. They do so willingly when given permission. This is the Buddha's second truth, whispered. In the language of the body, the cause of suffering is attachment, the desperate clinging to how we think things should be. But just as your body knows how to let go at day's end, your mind too can learn this ancient art of release. There is a teaching called the middle way, gentle as a deer path through an old forest. The Buddha discovered that neither extreme pleasure nor extreme denial could lead to lasting peace. Like a river that flows not too fast nor too slow, finding its natural pace between rocks and roots, we too can find this middle ground in our daily lives. Not fighting against our humanity, not indulging every whim, but walking softly between extremes. Picture a skilled musician tuning a stringed instrument in the quiet of early morning. If the strings are too tight, they snap. Too loose, and no music can emerge. The musician listens deeply, adjusting with patience until each string finds its perfect tension, not forced, not slack, but harmoniously responsive to the gentle touch that will create beauty. This is how we might approach our own lives, not with harsh discipline or careless abandon, but with the musician's patient ear for harmony. The third noble truth arrives like sunrise after a long night. Suffering can end, not through acquisition or achievement, but through understanding. When we truly see that our dissatisfaction comes not from what we lack, but from our constant wanting itself, something shifts. Like clouds parting to reveal a sky that was always there, we discover that peace is not something we must create, but something we must stop obscuring. There is a meditation practice where monks contemplate the changing nature of all things. They might sit with a flower from morning until evening, watching its petals slowly change, its colors deepen and fade, its form gradually transforming. They don't mourn its impermanence, they celebrate it. In its changing, They see the beautiful truth that everything in existence is in constant flow, like a river that is never the same water twice. The fourth noble truth unfolds like a path made visible by walking, the eightfold path, 8 gentle ways of living that lead naturally toward freedom. Right speech words that heal rather than harm, soft as morning dew. Right action deeds that arise from compassion rather than selfishness, graceful as a swan moving across still water. Right mindfulness awareness that embraces each moment, like a mother holding her sleeping child. These are not commandments demanding obedience, but invitations to experiment with joy. What happens when we speak only words that we would be happy to have echoing in a peaceful temple? What shifts when we act from love rather than fear? How does life change when we pay attention to the miracle of breathing, of seeing, of simply being alive in this extraordinary moment? The ancient texts speak of something called Buddha nature, the inherent capacity for awakening that exists within every being, like a seed of light waiting in the darkness of fertile soil. You don't have to earn this nature. You already possess it. You don't have to become worthy of peace. You are peace itself, temporarily forgotten beneath layers of worry and wanting. As you sink deeper into the softness of your pillow, imagine that each breath is both an ending and a beginning. With each exhale, you release what no longer serves you. The day's frustrations, tomorrow's anxieties, the stories you tell yourself about who you should be. With each inhale, you welcome what is already here. This moment, this breath, this opportunity to simply be present with whatever arises. The Buddha's final teaching was delivered in silence. When asked to explain the deepest truth, he simply held up a flower. In that gesture, everything was said. Beauty needs no explanation. Presence requires no justification. And sometimes the most profound teachings are transmitted not through words, but through the simple sharing of wonder. In a mountain monastery where time moved like honey through winter air, there lived an old monk named Fichan. His name meant peaceful stillness, though those who knew him best would say he embodied something even deeper. He was like a lake so clear you could see all the way to the bottom, where smooth stones lay undisturbed by surface waves. The monastery sat nestled between peaks that wore clouds like prayer shawls, and every morning, Fichan would wake before dawn to tend the garden. His hands moved among the vegetables with the same reverence other monks brought to chanting, each carrot pulled, each weed removed. Each seed planted was both an act of service and a meditation. Young monks often watched him work, puzzled by his contentment with such simple tasks. One morning, as frost painted the cabbage leaves silver, a novice named Min approached the old monk with the burning question that had kept him awake through the night bells. "Master An," the young monk whispered, his breath visible in the cool air, "I have been studying the sutras for 3 years, memorizing the Buddha's words, learning the names of different meditations, but I still feel no closer to enlightenment. When will I finally understand?" Fichan continued his work, gently loosening the soil around a young bok choy plant. The silence stretched long enough for the sun to clear the mountain ridge, painting everything in shades of gold and amber. Finally he spoke, his voice soft as the sound of leaves settling. "Come," he said simply, "help me with this garden." For the next hour, they worked side by side in silence. Ming pulled weeds with growing impatience, glancing frequently at the old monk, waiting for some profound teaching to emerge. But Fichan simply tended each plant with complete attention, as if the entire universe had condensed into the single task of caring for this one small garden. As the morning work concluded, Min could contain himself no longer. "Master, you haven't answered my question about enlightenment. When will I understand the Buddha's teachings?" Fichan straightened slowly, brushing soil from his hands. He walked to the edge of the garden, where a large clay water jar sat catching rainwater from the temple roof. The surface of the water was perfectly still, reflecting the morning sky so clearly, It seemed you could reach through it and touch the clouds themselves. "Tell me, young Min," the old monk said, settling onto a worn wooden stool beside the jar. "What do you see in this water?" Min looked into the jar eagerly, hoping this was the beginning of some great teaching. "I see the reflection of the sky, Master. Clouds, the mountain peaks, my own face looking back. And if I were to stir the water like this?" Thich An picked up a small stick and gently disturbed the surface. Immediately, the reflection fragmented into countless dancing pieces: broken sky, shattered mountains, a face divided into rippling segments. "Now the reflection is unclear, disturbed," Min answered, his excitement fading into confusion. "Yes," nodded Thich An, setting the stick aside. "And what happens now as we sit quietly?" They watched together as the water gradually stilled. The ripples grew smaller and smaller until the surface returned to perfect calm, and once again the sky appeared whole and clear in its depths. "The reflection returns, Master." "Just so," smiled Thich An. "Your mind, dear Min, is like this water. When you stir it with constant seeking, with questions about when you will understand, with impatience for enlightenment, the clear reflection of your true nature becomes disturbed. The Buddhist teachings are not hiding from you. They are reflected perfectly in the still water of your awareness. But you cannot see them clearly while you are busy stirring up waves with your wanting." The young monk felt something shift in his chest, like a door opening onto a room he had always lived in, but never noticed. "The garden," Thich An continued, his eyes twinkling with gentle humor, "has been teaching you all morning. Each plant grows not by rushing toward the sun, but by staying rooted and allowing its nature to unfold. The soil does not hurry to nourish. It simply gives what it has. The rain does not anxiously plan its falling. It simply falls when conditions are right." "But Master," Min asked, his voice smaller now, more humble, "how do I stop stirring the water? How do I find this stillness you speak of?" Thich An stood and walked to the monastery bell, its bronze surface green with age and countless prayers. With one gentle strike of the wooden mallet, a pure tone rang out across the valley, rich and clear and seemingly endless. "Listen," he said. Simply Min listened. At first, he heard only the bell's voice, strong and singular. But as the sound began to fade, other sounds emerged. The whisper of wind through pine needles, the distant murmur of the stream, a bird calling from somewhere, high in the mountains. As the bell's tone finally disappeared entirely, he realized he was hearing something he had never noticed before: the sound of silence itself, vast and full and alive. "The bell does not struggle to make its sound," Thich An explained. "It is struck and its nature is revealed. When the striking ends, it returns naturally to silence. Both the ringing and the silence are equally its nature. You too have both movement and stillness within you. Do not try to eliminate one to find the other. Simply allow both to exist and notice the awareness that observes both." From that day forward, Min continued his studies, but something fundamental had changed. He no longer read the sutras looking for answers. He read them as conversations with old friends. He no longer meditated waiting for enlightenment. He sat simply to sit, the way flowers bloom simply to bloom. And in this shift from seeking to being, from wanting to allowing, he began to understand what Thich An had been trying to tell him. The very awareness that could observe his seeking was itself what he had been seeking all along. Years later, when Min had become an old monk himself, tending his own garden in the early morning light, he would smile remembering that day by the water jar. Students would come to him with burning questions about enlightenment, and he would invite them to help him weed the vegetables, knowing that the garden would teach them what his words never could. ***, close your eyes now, if you haven't already, and imagine that you are standing at the edge of a vast inner landscape, not a place you must travel to, but a territory that exists within the very breath you are breathing now. This is the realm of pure awareness, as spacious as the night. Sky as intimate as your own heartbeat. With each gentle inhalation, you are not just drawing air into your lungs. You are inviting the entire universe to dance within you. The oxygen that enters your body has been part of ocean waves, has danced through the leaves of ancient forests, has been breathed by countless beings throughout time. In this single breath, you are connected to everything that has ever lived, everything that lives now, everything that will live in the future. Feel your breath as it flows in and flows out like a tide that knows its own rhythm, requiring no effort from you, no control, no improvement. Your breath is already perfect, already wise, already connected to the deepest teachings of existence. It is both the most ordinary thing, something you do 20,000 times each day without thinking, and the most extraordinary miracle, the bridge between your conscious mind and the vast intelligence that beats your heart and grows your hair and heals your wounds without any instruction from you. As you breathe, begin to notice the space between thoughts. At first, this might seem impossible. Thoughts appear to flow continuously, like a river that never stops. But just as there are spaces between the notes that allow music to exist, there are spaces between thoughts that allow awareness to exist. These gaps are not empty. They are full of pure potential, like the pregnant pause before a flower blooms. Imagine now that your thoughts are like clouds, drifting across the sky of your mind. Some clouds are white and fluffy, pleasant thoughts about loved ones, memories that make you smile, hopes for tomorrow. Others are dark and heavy worries about the future, regrets about the past, judgments about yourself and others. But notice, you are not the clouds. You are the sky itself, vast and unchanging, providing space for all weather to pass through. The clouds do not stain the sky. Even the darkest storm eventually moves on, revealing the clear blue vastness that was there all along. In the same way, your difficult thoughts and emotions do not change the essential nature of your awareness. They arise, they exist for a time, and they pass away, leaving the clear space of your being untouched and unharmed. This is one of the deepest teachings of Buddhism. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the spaciousness that allows emotions to arise and dissolve. You are not your body, though you cherish it. You are not your story, though you honor its chapters. You are the consciousness itself, the pure knowing that knows all these things. With each breath out, practice the gentle art of letting go, not forcing anything away, not pushing thoughts or feelings out of your mind, but simply releasing your grip on them. Like opening your hand to let a bird fly free, you can open your awareness to let thoughts and emotions move through you without resistance. This is not indifference. This is wisdom. This is not detachment. This is freedom. Feel how your body naturally relaxes when you stop trying to control your experience. Your shoulders drop, your jaw softens, your belly releases its tension. This physical relaxation is a teaching about non-attachment. When we stop gripping so tightly to our preferences, our demands for how life should unfold, our entire being relaxes into what is actually here. Now, with the gentleness of moonlight touching water, bring your attention to the sensation of being aware. Not aware of something specific, but simply the quality of awareness itself. It's like trying to see your own eyes. You can't look at awareness directly, but you can feel it, sense it, rest in it, like settling into a warm bath. This awareness is what the Buddha called your original face, the you that exists before. Thoughts divide the world into categories, before preferences create suffering, before the busy mind starts its endless commentary. It is the you that was there before you learned language, before you developed an identity, before you began telling yourself the story of who you are. In this original awareness, There is no problem to solve, no goal to achieve, no place to get. 2. There is only this: the simple fact of being conscious, of existing, of participating in the mystery of awareness, aware of itself. It is like a candle flame that illuminates everything around it while remaining serenely itself, burning without effort, glowing without struggle. As you rest in this space of pure being, notice that happiness is not something you need to create or find or earn. It is the natural fragrance of awareness itself, like the way flowers naturally emit perfume. When you stop looking for happiness in external circumstances and recognize it as your essential nature, everything changes while nothing changes. The world is exactly the same, but your relationship to it is transformed. This is the deepest freedom. Not the ability to control your circumstances, but the recognition that your peace does not depend on circumstances at all. Like the sun that shines equally on storms and clear skies, your essential nature remains, luminous regardless of what weather passes through your life. Breathe in this understanding. Now breathe out any remaining tension and rest in the simple, profound recognition that you are already home. You have never left home. The peace you seek, the love you long for, the freedom you imagine, all of these are facets of what you already and always are. Asterisk, asterisk. In the secret corners of Buddhist monasteries, where dust motes dance in shafts of golden light and ancient texts rest like sleeping cats in carved wooden alcoves, there exist teachings that whisper rather than shout, riddles that unlock themselves not through thinking, but through surrendering the need to understand. There is a story, barely known, of a Zen master who never spoke. For 40 years, students came from distant lands to hear his teachings, but he would simply serve them tea with such complete attention, such perfect presence, that many achieved enlightenment simply by watching him pour water into a cup. His teaching was not in words, but in the way he moved through the world, as if every gesture were a prayer, every moment sacred. One day, a scholar arrived, frustrated by the master's silence. "I have traveled 3 months to hear your wisdom." The scholar demanded, "Why do you not teach?" The master smiled and handed him an empty teacup. The scholar looked at it, perplexed. "It's empty," he said. The master nodded and replied with his only words in 40 years. "Yes, so you have room to receive." This is the hidden truth of all spiritual seeking. We must become empty cups before we can be filled. Not empty in the sense of lacking or depleted, but empty in the way a vessel is empty, spacious, receptive, ready to hold whatever the moment offers. The busier our minds are with knowledge and opinions and plans, the less room there is for wisdom to enter. There exists a meditation that few speak of, known as the practice of not knowing. Instead of trying to figure everything out, instead of seeking answers and solutions, the practitioner simply rests in the comfortable acknowledgement that they don't know. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. I don't know who I really am. And in this not knowing, something vast and peaceful opens up the space where all possibilities exist simultaneously. The Buddha once held up a flower and smiled. This simple gesture is said to have transmitted the entire teaching to one student, Mahakasyapa, who understood immediately and smiled in return. No words were exchanged, no concepts shared, no philosophy discussed. Just flower, smile, understanding. This is called the transmission beyond words, and it suggests that the deepest truths cannot be captured in language, but only recognized. In moments of pure presence. In Tibet, there is a practice called sky gazing, literally staring at the vast blue emptiness of the open sky until the boundaries between inner and outer, self and space, begin to dissolve. The practitioner doesn't look for anything in the sky, doesn't try to achieve any particular state. They simply gaze, allowing their awareness to become as vast and boundless as the space they're observing. In this practice, the meditator discovers that their own consciousness is actually sky-like limitless, clear and naturally at peace. Hidden in the ancient texts is the curious teaching of the backward step. Instead of always moving forward toward goals and achievements, instead of constantly seeking progress and improvement, we occasionally practice stepping backward into what we already are. Like a person who has been searching everywhere for their glasses only to discover they're already wearing them. We step back into the awareness that was never lost, the peace that was never absent, the wholeness that was never broken. There is a Zen riddle that asks, what is the sound of one hand clapping? Most people try to solve this intellectually, imagining half sounds or philosophical concepts. But the real answer is simpler and more mysterious. It is the sound of your life exactly as it is right now. The sound of your breath, your heartbeat, the rustling of sheets as you settle deeper into rest. One hand clapping is the applause of existence, celebrating itself through your very being. In some monasteries, there exists the practice of laughing meditation. Monks gather in the early morning and simply laugh together for no reason at all. Not because anything is funny, not because they feel particularly joyful, but because laughter is the natural expression of a heart that has stopped taking itself so seriously. A laugh at the cosmic joke of seeking enlightenment when they were enlightened all along, of looking for God when they were never separate from the divine. The most hidden truth of all is this: you are already awake. Right now, as you lie in your bed listening to these words, you are experiencing the very awareness that all spiritual paths point toward. The you that is aware of being aware. This is Buddha nature, not something you will achieve someday through years of practice, but something you are experiencing this very moment. The seeking itself is what makes this truth seem hidden. Like trying to find your shadow by chasing it. There is a secret teaching that enlightenment is not a destination, but a recognition. Like suddenly seeing the hidden image in an optical illusion. Nothing changes except your perception, but everything is transformed. The world remains exactly the same, but you see it with new eyes. The problems you thought were so serious reveal themselves to be games the mind plays with itself. The peace you thought was so elusive is discovered to be closer than your own breath. As you drift now toward the edge of sleep, remember this gentle secret. You don't need to become anything other than what you are. You don't need to fix yourself, or improve yourself, or purify yourself. You are already the Buddha of your own life, the awareness in which all experiences arise and pass away. Rest in this understanding. Let it settle into your bones like warm honey, and know that your very existence is a teaching, your very presence a gift to the world. Asterisk, asterisk, in the soft twilight between waking and dreaming, where thoughts become as gentle. As moths drawn to candlelight, we arrive at perhaps the most tender of all Buddhist teachings, the understanding of suffering not as punishment, but as teacher. Like a finger pointing at the moon, our pain points always towards something deeper, not toward more pain, but toward the peace that lies beneath all disturbance. Asterisk, asterisk, imagine, if you will, a perfectly clear mountain lake at dawn. The water is so still it mirrors the sky completely, creating the illusion that clouds are floating both above and below, that heaven and earth have become one seamless whole. This is the natural state of your consciousness, peaceful, reflective, undisturbed. But then the wind begins to blow. Asterisk. Small waves appear on the surface, and suddenly the perfect reflection fractures into thousands of dancing fragments. The sky is still there, the mountains still surround the lake, but the mirror-like clarity is lost. This wind is like the movement of desire through our lives, not evil, not wrong, but simply the natural force that creates disturbance in the perfect stillness of being. We suffer not because we have desires, but because we have forgotten that we are the lake itself, not the waves on its surface. We identify with the disturbance and lose sight of the vast, stillness that remains untouched beneath even the stormiest weather. The Buddha's first noble truth, that life contains suffering, is not a pessimistic statement, but a compassionate recognition. He is saying, yes, the waves exist. Yes, the surface gets disturbed. This is not a mistake. This is part of the dance. But here is where the teaching becomes as gentle as a mother's lullaby. Suffering is not the opposite of peace. Suffering is simply peace that has temporarily forgotten its own nature. Like gold that appears tarnished, but remains gold beneath the surface. Like the sun that seems absent during an eclipse, but continues shining behind the shadow, your essential peace remains untouched by whatever storms pass through your life. Consider the way physical pain teaches the body. When you touch something hot, pain arises instantly, not to punish you, but to protect you, to guide you away from harm. Emotional and spiritual suffering works the same way. It arises to tell you, you are believing something that isn't true. You are identifying with something that isn't your real nature. You are seeking happiness in places where it cannot be found. The ache of loneliness whispers, you have forgotten your connection to all life. The frustration of wanting things to be different murmurs, you are fighting reality instead of dancing with it. The fear of the future suggests, you have abandoned this present moment, which is the only place peace can ever be found. Each form of suffering is a gentle tap on the shoulder from wisdom itself, saying, come home, remember who you are. There is a meditation practice where monks contemplate their own death, not morbidly, but with the tenderness of someone saying goodbye to a beloved friend. They imagine their last breath, their final heartbeat, the moment when all their earthly concerns dissolve into silence. Far from being frightening, this practice reveals the preciousness of every moment they are alive. When you truly understand that this life is temporary, that this very breath might be your last, how can anything seem too small to appreciate? This contemplation of impermanence becomes a doorway into peace. If everything passes away, your problems, your achievements, your identity, your very body, then what is there to cling to? And in the release of clinging, what remains? Only the timeless awareness that was there before your problems arose and will be there after they dissolve. Only the love that does not depend on objects to love, the joy that needs no reason to exist, the peace that surpasses all understanding. Peace, you see, is not the absence of waves on the lake. Peace is the lake itself, so vast and deep that it can accommodate any weather without losing its essential nature. You can have thoughts and still be peaceful. You can have emotions and still be at rest. You can face challenges and still remain centered in the unshakable knowing of who you are. The secret that few understand is that peace is not a feeling. Feelings come and go like weather patterns, but peace is the sky in which all weather appears. You don't have to feel peaceful to be peace itself. You don't have to think calm thoughts to rest in the natural calm of your being. Just as you don't have to think breathing thoughts to breathe, you don't have to manufacture peaceful states to access the peace you already are got as you lie here now. Notice how your body naturally finds its most comfortable position without any effort from your conscious mind. Your muscles release tension automatically when given permission. Your breathing slows and deepens without instruction. This is your being naturally returning to its ground state of ease. This same principle applies to your mind, your emotions, your entire sense of self. When you stop forcing and fighting and fixing, everything naturally settles into its own perfect rhythm. Suffering ends not when external conditions become perfect. They never will, but when you remember that your well-being was never dependent on external conditions in the first place. Like the sun that shines equally on gardens and garbage dumps, your inner light remains constant regardless of what it illuminates. This recognition is not a philosophy to believe, but a reality to experience, as immediate and undeniable as the warmth of your own heartbeat. Asterisk, asterisk, in a garden where moonflowers bloom only in darkness, their white petals unfurling like prayers made. Visible, an ancient truth reveals itself. Sometimes we must release our grip on light to discover an even deeper illumination. The art of letting go is perhaps the most misunderstood of all spiritual practices, often imagined as a form of abandonment or indifference, when it is actually the most intimate form of love. Picture a child on a riverbank, trying to cup the flowing water in their small hands. The harder they squeeze, the faster the water escapes between their fingers. But when they simply place their hands gently in the stream, allowing the water to flow through their open palms, they can feel its coolness, its movement, its life in a way that grasping never allowed. This is the essence of letting go, not rejecting what we love, but loving it in a way that doesn't require possession. That we live in a world that teaches us to hold tight to our opinions, our plans, our identities, our relationships, our very lives. But the Buddha discovered something revolutionary in his quiet, sitting beneath the Bodhi tree, that our tight holding is precisely what creates our suffering. Not the things themselves, but our desperate clinging to them, our insistence that they remain exactly as we want them to be. Imagine holding a bird in your closed fist. Your intention might be to keep it safe, to ensure it stays with you, but your tight grip actually threatens its life. Only when you open your hand, risking that it might fly away, do you create the conditions where it might choose to stay. And if it does fly away, your open hand allows you to feel gratitude for the moments it was with you, rather than anguish over its leaving. This is how we might learn to hold everything in our lives: our jobs, our relationships, our plans, our very sense of who we are, not with the tight fist of fear, but with the open palm of trust. Trust that whatever is meant to be with us will stay, and whatever is meant to leave will bless us with its going. Trust that life knows what it is doing, even when our small minds cannot comprehend the larger pattern. There is a story of a Zen master whose most precious possession was a beautiful teacup, perfectly formed and irreplaceably valuable. When visitors admired it, he would say, "I enjoy this cup because to me, it is already broken." This was not pessimism, but wisdom. By acknowledging the cup's impermanence, by accepting that someday it would break, he was able to appreciate its beauty more fully in each moment. He was not waiting for disaster. He was simply not in denial about the nature of existence. When we truly understand impermanence, not just intellectually, but in our bones, everything becomes more precious, not less. The temporary nature of life is not its flaw, but its gift. If flowers bloomed forever, would their beauty move us so deeply? If loved ones lived eternally, would we cherish our time with them as tenderly? If our own lives stretched infinitely, would we feel the urgency to love, to create, to awaken that gives each day its poignancy? Letting go is not a single act, but a continuous practice, like breathing out. We don't exhale once and consider ourselves finished with breathing. We release our breath thousands of times each day, trusting that the next inhalation will come. In the same way, we practice letting go moment by moment, releasing our expectations for how this conversation should unfold, our demands for how this day should proceed, our insistence that we know what will make us happy. The deepest letting go is releasing our attachment to being someone who lets go. Even our spiritual identity, our sense of being advanced or awakened or enlightened, must eventually be released. Like a snake shedding its skin, we must be willing to outgrow even our most cherished concepts of ourselves. The you who began listening to this story is not the same you who is hearing these words now. In each moment, the old self dies and a new self is born. This is not metaphor. This is the actual nature of existence. As you rest now in the softness of approaching sleep, practice the gentle art of releasing this day. Let go of what you accomplished and what you failed to accomplish. Release your judgments about whether You are good enough, productive enough, spiritual enough. Allow the conversations, the worries, the planning, the analyzing to drift away like smoke from a candle that has been peacefully extinguished. Feel how naturally your body lets go. Your muscles don't cling to tension. They release it gratefully when given permission. Your lungs don't hoard air. They freely give back what they have received. Your heart doesn't cling to the blood it pumps. It sends it forth with generosity, trusting it will return. Your entire being is a continuous practice of letting go, of giving and receiving, of flowing with the great circulation of life. In this letting go, you discover something remarkable. What you thought you would lose by not grasping is actually what you gain. The peace you thought you had to create is revealed as what remains when you stop disturbing it. The love you thought you had to earn is discovered as what you are when you stop pretending to be something else. The home you thought you had to find is recognized as where you have always been. Let go now of needing to understand these words. Let go of trying to remember these teachings. Let go of being someone who is learning something important. Let go. And in that spacious emptiness, allow yourself to simply be what you have always been. Awareness itself, resting peacefully in the ocean of existence. Waves of thought and feeling moving across your surface, while your depths remain forever calm, forever untouched, forever free. Asterisk, asterisk, in the hushed cathedral of early morning, when the world exists in that sacred pause between night and day, there comes a moment that mystics throughout time have tried to describe, but which language can only point toward, never capture. It is the moment when the seeker realizes there was never anything to seek, when the dreamer awakens to discover that both the dream and the dreamer were movements within a vast awareness that was never asleep. Awakening is not what most people imagine it to be. It is not a blinding flash of light, not a mystical experience that sets you apart from ordinary humanity, not a permanent state of bliss that eliminates all difficulties from life. Awakening is far more intimate and immediate than any dramatic spiritual experience. It is like the moment when you stop looking for your glasses and realize you are already wearing them. Nothing changes, yet everything is transformed. Imagine a wave on the ocean that has spent its entire existence believing it was separate from the water. It knows itself as wave, sometimes tall and proud, sometimes small and insignificant, sometimes crashing powerfully against the shore, sometimes dissolving quietly into foam. Then, in a moment of profound recognition, the wave realizes, I am not separate from the ocean. I am ocean, temporarily expressing itself as wave. The wave doesn't disappear. It continues being wave, but now it knows its true nature, and this changes everything while changing nothing. This is what we call awakening, the recognition that you are not separate from the fabric of existence itself. You are not a person having spiritual experiences. You are consciousness itself, temporarily taking the form of a person. You are not seeking enlightenment. You are enlightenment, playing at being a seeker. You are not trying to find peace. You are peace itself, dreaming you are anxious and restless. True freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want. A person trapped in their desires, compulsively, acting on every impulse, is the opposite of free. They are enslaved by their own cravings. Real freedom's the recognition that you don't need anything to be different for you to be at peace. You can have preferences without being controlled by them. You can have goals without being attached to outcomes. You can participate fully in life while knowing that your well-being doesn't depend on how any of it turns out. There is a Zen saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. This points to the ordinariness of awakening. The enlightened person still does the dishes, still pays taxes, still experiences sadness when loved ones die. But there is a fundamental shift in how these activities are experienced. Before awakening, chopping wood feels like a chore that stands between you and happiness. After awakening, chopping wood is happiness itself, complete presence with what is, rather than mental resistance to what is. Freedom reveals itself in the smallest moments. The way you can watch a difficult emotion arise without immediately trying to change it or escape from it. The way you can receive criticism without your sense of self crumbling. A way you can experience loss without losing your essential joy. The way you can face uncertainty without needing to create false certainty through worry and planning. Consider the freedom of a tree in autumn. It doesn't cling to its leaves, demanding that summer continue forever. It doesn't resist the seasonal change or try to negotiate with the weather. It simply allows the leaves to turn color, to fall, to return to earth, trusting completely in the intelligence of the process. The tree in winter is not less than the tree in summer. It is simply tree being itself under different conditions. This is the freedom of awakening, the ability to be fully yourself under any conditions. Not happiness-seeking self, or success-striving self, or even peace-seeking self, but just pure being, aware and present, like space that accommodates all weather without being disturbed by storms or improved by sunshine. The deepest freedom is freedom from the story you tell yourself about who you are. Most suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from the meaning we add to what happens. I am someone who always fails. I am someone who can't be loved. I am someone who will never be enough. These stories feel so real, so defining, but they are just thoughts appearing in awareness. And you are the awareness in which these thoughts appear. When you recognize yourself as awareness rather than as the content of awareness, something revolutionary happens. Thoughts can arise without defining you. Emotions can flow through without drowning you. Experiences can come and go without threatening your essential peace. You become like the sky, vast enough to hold all weather, untouched by any weather. True awakening often brings what seems like a paradox. The more clearly you see that you are already free, the more compassionate you become toward others who believe they are trapped. The more you recognize that there is nowhere to go and nothing to achieve, the more naturally you want to help others discover this same recognition. The more you understand that you are already complete, the more effortlessly you serve lives. Completion in others. Freedom is not a destination you arrive at through years of spiritual practice. Freedom is what you are right now in this very moment. It is the awareness that is reading these words, the presence that is aware of your body lying in bed, the consciousness that witnesses thoughts and feelings without being limited by any of them. This awareness is not something you possess. You are something that awareness is expressing as you drift deeper into the embrace of approaching sleep. Rest in this recognition. You are already free. You have always been free. You will always be free. The bondage you sometimes feel is like a dream of being imprisoned while sleeping in your own bed. When you awaken from the dream, you realize you were never actually trapped. The prison was made of thoughts, and thoughts have no more substantial reality than shadows on a wall. Let yourself settle now into the vast freedom of simply being aware. No need to do anything with this awareness. No need to improve it or direct it or use it for any purpose. Just rest in the miracle of consciousness, knowing itself. Like the ocean becoming aware of its own wetness. Like space recognizing its own boundlessness. Like existence celebrating its own mysterious ability to exist. You are already free. Are already awake. You are already home. Asterisk, asterisk, in the heart of a redwood forest, where trees older than civilizations reach toward a sky they have never seen, but somehow knows there, exists a silence so complete it seems to breathe. This is not the silence of absence, but the silence of presence, not empty quietude, but pregnant fullness, like the pause between musical notes that allows melody to exist, like the space between words that gives language its meaning. Stillness is not what happens when movement stops. Stillness is what was there before movement began, what remains during movement, what continues after movement ends. It is the unchanging backdrop against which all change appears, the eternal canvas on which the temporary painting of existence is created and recreated moment by moment. Think of a spinning top. From the outside, it appears to be in constant motion, but at its very center is a point of perfect stillness around which all the movement revolves. Without this still center, the spinning would be impossible. In the same way, your life of constant activity, thinking, feeling, planning, remembering, doing revolves around a center of absolute stillness that is your deepest nature. This stillness is not something you need to create through meditation or spiritual practice. You cannot make stillness. You can only recognize the stillness that is already here. It is like trying to make spaces already everywhere, needing no effort to exist, no maintenance to continue. Your deepest self is this same kind of effortless, ever-present stillness. But why is stillness the deepest truth? Because it is the only thing that never changes. Your thoughts change constantly, flowing like a river that is never the same water twice. Your emotions rise and fall like waves on an ocean. Your body grows and ages and transforms. Your circumstances shift like weather patterns across the landscape of your life. But through all of this change, something remains constant: the aware. Stillness that witnesses all transformation without being transformed by any of it. Asterisk, asterisk. In ancient Sanskrit, there is a word, sakshan, which means the witness. It points to this aspect of yourself that observes everything but is touched by nothing, that sees all but remains unseen, that knows all experiences but is not limited by any experience. This witness is not distant or cold. It is the most intimate thing about you, closer than your breath, more immediate than your thoughts. Imagine sitting by a river at twilight, watching the water flow past. Leaves float by, twigs, perhaps a family of ducks. The river carries everything, beautiful things and debris, precious objects and ordinary stones. But you, sitting on the bank, remain unmoved by what flows past. You see it all. You may even appreciate the beauty and feel compassion for what seems troubled, but you are not swept away by any of it. This is the position of the witness consciousness within you, present to everything, disturbed by nothing. The deepest spiritual traditions all point to this same recognition. Beneath the surface turbulence of mental activity lies an ocean of perfect calm. Beneath the busy marketplace of thoughts and emotions exists a temple of profound silence. Beneath the complex story of your personal history rests a simple, wordless presence that has been there since your first breath and will be there until your last. This stillness is not boring or empty. It is pregnant with infinite potential, like the silence before a symphony begins, not lacking music, but containing all possible music. In deep meditation, mystics report that this stillness is actually alive with a subtle, joyful vibration, as if existence itself is humming a silent song of contentment. When you touch this stillness, even briefly, everything in your life begins to reorganize itself around this new center of gravity. Problems that seemed overwhelming reveal themselves as temporary weather patterns passing across the eternal sky of your being. Decisions that felt impossible become obvious when viewed from the clarity of stillness. Relationships that were sources of conflict transform when you stop meeting drama with more drama, and instead respond from the calm depths of your being. The still center is also the source of true creativity. Artists know this intuitively. The best ideas come not from forcing and striving, but from a relaxed receptivity, from learning to listen to something deeper than the analytical mind. Musicians speak of music playing itself through them. Writers Describe words appearing on the page as if from nowhere. This is the stillness expressing itself. The way a spring expresses the hidden underground water source. As you prepare to enter sleep, notice how your body naturally seeks stillness. Your muscles release their day-long tension. Your breathing slows and deepens. Your thoughts begin to lose their urgency and fade into the background like distant radio stations. This physical settling is your being's natural return to its ground, state of rest. But even deeper than physical stillness is the stillness of pure awareness itself. This awareness that is aware of your body relaxing, aware of your thoughts slowing down, aware of the transition from waking to sleeping. This awareness itself is already perfectly still. It doesn't need to become still. It is stillness itself, rest. Now, in this recognition, you don't have to achieve stillness or create peace or manufacture calm. These qualities are your essential nature, as natural to you as wetness is to water, as natural as space is to the universe. The seeking, the efforting, the trying, all of this can gently dissolve back into the stillness from which it arose. In this stillness, there is no problem to solve, no goal to achieve, no place to get to. There is only the profound mystery of awareness aware of itself, consciousness resting in its own essential nature, being itself, with the effortless grace of existence itself. This is the deepest truth, not a fact to believe, but a reality to be, not a destination to reach, but the ground you are already standing on. Be still now, and know that you are home. In the gentle hour when night begins to weave her silver threads through the fabric of the world. Imagine yourself sitting beside an ancient river that has flowed through countless seasons, carrying the stories of mountains and meadows, forests and valleys, all the way to the endless embrace of the sea. This river knows something we often forget, that the secret of life is not in reaching the destination, but in flowing with such complete presence that each moment becomes both journey and arrival. The river teaches us about acceptance without resignation. It does not fight the rocks that interrupt its path. Instead, it flows around them, sometimes pausing to create deep, still pools where fish can rest and kingfishers can drink. When it encounters a cliff, it does not demand that the earth be different. It becomes a waterfall, transforming obstacle into opportunity, resistance into music, difficulty into beauty. Watch how the river carries everything that falls into it. Autumn, leaves that drift like golden prayers, fallen branches that become boats for insects, even stones that sink to the bottom become part of its bed, shaping its course. The river doesn't judge what enters its flow. It simply carries all with equal grace. This is how we might learn to hold our experiences, not pushing away what we dislike or grasping desperately at what we enjoy, but allowing life to flow through us with the same patient acceptance. There is wisdom in the river's relationship to time. It knows nothing of hurry, yet it never stops moving. It flows at exactly the right pace for its current conditions, rushing joyfully down steep slopes, meandering peacefully through meadows, gathering in quiet lakes to reflect the sky, before continuing its journey. The river is never late, never early, always perfectly present to what this moment asks of it. As darkness deepens and the first stars begin to pierce the velvet sky like pinpricks of ancient light, we discover another teacher in the cosmos above. Each star we see tonight has traveled unimaginable distances to reach our eyes. Some of their light began its journey before human beings walked the earth, before dinosaurs roamed, before life itself emerged from the primordial seas. In this way, the stars teach us about patience that spans eons. They burn steadily, not concerned with whether anyone notices their light, not worried about their purpose, simply expressing their nature with the consistency of love itself. A star does not try to be brighter than other stars. It simply shines with its own authentic radiance, contributing its unique voice to the vast symphony of the cosmos. The North Star has guided travelers for millennia, not because it moves or calls attention to itself, but because it remains still while everything else appears to rotate around it. In the same way, your deepest self serves as an inner compass, not through effort or achievement, but through the steady reliability of simply being what you are. When you rest in this unchanging center, all of life's apparent chaos reveals itself as a beautiful dance around your essential stillness. Consider the moon as she rises above the horizon like a lantern lit by some cosmic hand. She teaches us about cycles without judgment, about waxing and waning without apology. The moon never struggles against her phases. She is equally content to be full or new, bright or hidden. She illuminates the night, not from effort, but from nature, reflecting the sun's light with such gentle grace that even her darkness becomes beautiful. The moon's light on water creates a pathway of silver that seems to lead directly to your heart. This moonbeam bridge reminds us that illumination is not something we must create, but something we naturally reflect when we stop trying to generate our own light and instead allow ourselves to receive and share the luminous presence that already exists everywhere. Mountains rise like ancient monuments to patience, their peaks touching clouds while their roots reach deep into the earth's core. They teach us about dignity without arrogance, strength without violence, presence without effort. A mountain does not try to be impressive. It simply stands, weathering storms and sunshine with equal equanimity, providing shelter for countless beings without expectation of gratitude. The mountain's snow-capped peak reflects starlight like a crown of diamonds, reminding us that true nobility comes not from claiming superiority over others, but from reaching naturally toward the highest, while remaining grounded in the deepest. The mountain is simultaneously earth and sky, matter and space, solid and ethereal, a perfect metaphor for our own nature as both human and divine. Temporal and eternal dot in the mountain's valleys, rivers are born from melting snow and hidden springs. Here we see how all these teachings are interconnected. The mountain's stillness gives birth to the river's flow. The river's journey reflects the star's light. The star's constancy guides the mountain's patient presence through the cycles of seasons and centuries. As you rest now in the comfort of your bed, imagine yourself as part of this vast network of natural wisdom. Feel yourself flowing like the river, accepting what comes while moving steadily toward your own true destination. Sense yourself shining like a star, offering your unique light to the darkness without need for recognition or reward. Experience yourself as stable as a mountain, grounded in the earth while reaching toward infinite sky. Asterisk. Your breath moves like gentle wind through mountain valleys. Your heartbeat keeps time like waves against an ancient shore. Your awareness spans like starlight across the vastness of space. You are not separate from this natural world. You are nature itself, temporarily organized into this beautiful form called human life, expressing the same intelligence that guides rivers to the sea and stars in their courses. Rest in this belonging, this seamless participation in the vast web of existence. Like rivers, stars, moonlight, and mountains, you need do nothing to earn your place in this cosmic dance. Your very existence is your contribution. Your presence is your gift. Your being is your teaching. Asterisk, asterisk, in the space between one breath and the next, between one thought and another, between the end of one day and the beginning of the next, there exists a mystery so profound that sages have spent lifetimes trying to whisper its secrets. It is the mystery of how something can be both absolutely real and completely empty at the same time. How form and formlessness dance together, like lovers who are eternally one, yet forever discovering each other anew. Imagine a soap bubble floating in morning sunlight, its surface shimmering with rainbow colors that shift and change with each tiny movement of air. The bubble appears solid, defined, separate from the world around it. Yet, what is it really? Nothing more than a thin film of soap surrounding empty space. Its beauty, its apparent substantiality, its very existence depends entirely upon emptiness. Without the empty space within, there would be no bubble. The form is inseparable from the void. This is the deepest teaching of Buddhism, often called sunyata, or emptiness, not emptiness as a blank void, but emptiness as the pregnant space, in which all possibilities exist simultaneously. Your thoughts, your emotions, your very sense of self are like bubbles floating in the vast space of consciousness. Beautiful, meaningful, worthy of appreciation, and yet fundamentally insubstantial, arising from emptiness and dissolving back into emptiness moment by moment. But here is the wonder. Recognizing the emptiness of all phenomena does not make them less precious. Just as knowing that a rainbow is merely light and water vapor doesn't diminish its beauty. Understanding the ultimate insubstantiality of your experiences actually increases their poignancy. When you know that this moment is unrepeatable, that this very configuration of consciousness will never exist again, how can you help but hold it with infinite tenderness? Consider a musical note hanging in the air after a bell has been struck. The note has no solid existence. It is simply vibrations moving through space, waves of compressed and rarefied air creating patterns that your ear interprets as sound. Yet this mere vibration can move you to tears, can carry prayers to heaven, can connect your heart to hearts across the world. The note's power comes not from its substantiality, but from its perfect relationship to silence, its elegant dance. With emptiness, your life is like this musical note, arising from the silence of pure awareness, expressing itself uniquely and beautifully for a time, then dissolving back into the vast quietude from which it came. But while it sounds, what exquisite music it makes! What intricate harmonies it creates with all the other notes, other people, other creatures, other forms of life playing simultaneously in the grand symphony of existence. The ocean waves provide another teaching about this dance of form and emptiness. Each wave appears to be a separate entity with its own characteristics, some tall and dramatic, others gentle and rolling, each following its own path toward shore. Yet every wave is nothing more than a temporary expression of the one ocean, a way that water moves and shapes itself before returning to its source. The wave's individuality is real, but not separate. Its uniqueness is meaningful, but not permanent. In the same way, your personality, your history, your dreams and fears and hopes, all of these are real expressions of the one consciousness that expresses itself as all beings. Your individual wave nature is not an illusion to be dismissed, but a unique and precious way that the ocean of awareness knows itself. You matter not despite your ultimate emptiness, but because of it. Your very insubstantiality is what allows you to be so magnificently responsive, so creatively adaptive, so capable of love and growth and transformation. There is a Zen poem that says, "Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form." This is not a philosophical riddle, but a description of immediate reality. Right now, as you lie in your bed, your body appears solid and substantial, yet science tells you it is mostly empty space atoms spinning in vast voids, more spaciousness than matter. Yet this empty body breathes, feels, loves, dreams. The emptiness is not separate from the aliveness. The aliveness is not separate from the emptiness. Your thoughts too participate in this dance. Each thought seems so solid, so important, so definitively yours. Yet when you look closely, can you find where thoughts come from? Can you grasp them, hold them, point to their location? They arise like clouds forming in an empty sky, exist for a moment in the space of awareness, then dissolve back into the mental quietude from which they emerged. Yet while they exist, they can inspire, comfort, create, connect. Their emptiness is not their limitation, but their infinite potential dot as you drift now toward the threshold of sleep. Notice how this dance of form and emptiness plays out in your experience. Your wakeful consciousness gradually dissolves, yet something aware remains to know the dissolution. Your daily identity softens and blurs, yet the essential you that witnesses all states of consciousness continues undisturbed. In sleep, you will dream entire worlds into existence, people, places, dramas that feel completely real while you're experiencing them, then vanish without a trace upon waking. This is the cosmic joke that awakened beings smile about. We are all dreaming ourselves into existence moment by moment, individually and collectively, creating elaborate stories and then forgetting we are the authors. But the forgetting is not a mistake. It's part of the play. How else could the infinite experience itself as finite? How else could the eternal enjoy the poignancy of time? How else could love know itself except by pretending to be separate so it can discover union again and again? Rest now in this ultimate teaching. You are both absolutely real and completely empty, utterly important and perfectly insignificant, temporarily individual and eternally universal. This paradox is not a problem to solve, but a mystery to live, not a contradiction to resolve, but a dance to join with ever-increasing grace and wonder that form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. And you are the awareness in which this eternal dance unfolds, the space in which all bubbles arise and dissolve, the silence in which all music plays its brief and beautiful song. Asterisk, asterisk, as we arrive at the gentle close of our journey through the night, like travelers who have walked together along moonlit paths and now find themselves at the threshold of home. Let us pause for a moment to honor what we have shared in these quiet hours. We began in the space between waking and sleeping, and here we return, but perhaps you are not quite the same person who first settled into listening. The wisdom we have touched together has a way of working silently, like seeds planted in fertile darkness, taking root in ways we may not immediately understand. We have wandered through gardens of ancient teaching, where the Buddha's gentle voice still echoes across 25 centuries, reminding us that suffering is not our enemy, but our teacher. That peace is not something we must create, but something we must remember we already are. We have sat by water jars with patient monks who taught through presence rather than words, who showed us that the very seeking we thought was necessary was actually what obscured what we were seeking. We have learned the secret language of rivers and stars, mountains and moonlight, each element of the natural world offering its own verse in the great poem of existence. The river taught us to flow with what is, accepting obstacles as opportunities for new forms of beauty. The stars reminded us of the patient radiance that asks nothing for itself, yet illuminates everything. The moon showed us how to wax and wane with grace, while the mountains demonstrated the dignity of simply being present, reaching toward heaven while remaining rooted in earth. Asterisk, asterisk, in the quiet chambers of our own awareness. We discovered that thoughts are like clouds passing through the vast sky of consciousness, that emotions are like weather moving across the unchanging landscape of our being. We touched the stillness that exists at the center of all movement, the silence that gives meaning to all sound, the emptiness that allows all form to dance into existence. Perhaps most importantly, we remembered something we had never really forgotten, that you are already free, already awake, already home. The seeking that brought you to this moment of listening was like a person searching everywhere for their glasses while wearing them, like someone digging holes in the garden, looking for the ground they are standing on. The peace you have been seeking has been seeking you with equal devotion, has been as close as your own breath, as intimate as your own heartbeat. Asterisk. These teachings we have shared are not meant to burden you with new concepts to remember or techniques to practice. They are whispers from your own deepest wisdom, reminders of what you have always known in the place within you that exists before thoughts arise. Like recognition rather than learning, like coming home rather than going somewhere new got, as sleep approaches with its gentle invitation to surrender the day's identity and dissolve into the mysterious renewal that comes with rest. Know that this letting go is itself a teaching. Every night, you practice the ultimate letting go, releasing not just your plans and worries, but your very sense of being someone who plans and worries. Every night, you demonstrate perfect trust in the process of dissolution and rebirth, sinking into the unknown darkness with the confidence of someone who has done this dance thousands of times before dawn in sleep. You will return to the source of all dreams, the awareness in which all experiences arise and into which they dissolve. Your individual wave will merge back into the ocean of consciousness. Your personal song will dissolve into the vast silence from which all music emerges. Yet the you that is aware, the you that knows dreaming and waking, thinking and not thinking, being someone and being no one, this essential you remains untouched, unborn, undying. Thank you for sharing this quiet path with me tonight. Thank you for bringing your presence, your openness, your willingness to listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart. In the mystery of this moment, we have been teacher and student to each other, mirrors reflecting the same timeless awareness, waves temporarily distinct, yet never separate from the one ocean that is our true home. Wherever you rest your head tonight, whether under the bright lights of a busy city or beneath a canopy of stars, whether surrounded by the sounds of traffic or the whisper of wind through trees, know that you carry within you the same peace that has comforted seekers throughout all times and places, the same stillness that Buddha found beneath the Bodhi tree, the same freedom that sages have pointed toward across cultures and centuries, lives now in the space between your thoughts, breathes now in the rhythm of your heart. May the teachings we have touched together work in you like gentle rain on fertile soil, nurturing whatever is ready to grow, bringing forth whatever wisdom wants to blossom in your life. May you remember, in moments of difficulty, that you are the sky in which all weather passes. May you recognize, in times of joy, that happiness is not something you create, but something you are. May you rest, always, in the knowing that seeking and finding are one, that the path and the destination have never been separate. May peace find you as naturally as sleep finds the tired body. May the Dharma light your dreams with the soft glow of understanding. May you wake tomorrow with the gentle smile of someone who has touched, once again, the bottomless mystery of simply being alive, aware and infinitely free. And now, as the last words of our journey together fade into the pregnant silence from which they arose, let yourself settle into the vast embrace of the night. Let your breath become a prayer, your heartbeat a meditation, your very existence a celebration of the one life that lives itself as all lives. Rest well, dear friend. Rest in the knowing that you are already home. Rest in the peace that passes understanding. Rest in the love that needs no object, the awareness that knows no boundary, the presence that is closer than close. Good night, and be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. May all beings awaken to the peace that they are.